direct indicator of your venous load and how is the patient hemodynamically doing. So normally you might not be able to see JVP. That's one thing, because normally JVP is not that very significant for untrained eyes. So normally JVPs are not seen. But otherwise, when you have a patient of, first of all, heart failure, you will be able to see JVP very nicely. Then if you have a patient of tricuspid stenosis or atresia, you will be able to see JVP very nicely. Apart from that, superior vena cava syndrome or right heart failure, all of these are conditions where JVP is very visible, and you have to make it a habit to check JVP. Some of the things to note while checking JVP is that jugular venous pressure has to be taken in the internal jugular vein of the right side. The reason is internal jugular vein is in direct connection with the right atrium, which is present over here, right side, and the IJVP is pretty straight of the right side. On the left side, it will cross and join the brachiocephalic vein of the left side. But in right side, it's pretty straightforward. It is basically valveless, and it does not have any facial planes to travel. Whereas the external jugular vein, which we have got, has got some facial planes to travel, and that's why external jugular vein is something that we don't prefer. So this is internal jugular vein. So we'll take the JVP. How do we take the JVP? So first of all, let the patient lie in a 45-degree angle. So as you can see, we have not inclined the bed. We have just pasted a particular pillow over here. So the 45-degree angle is made. 45 degrees must. It is essential for you to take the JVP. And how do you do it? You'll need a torch for this. First of all, this is the torch, and you'll need 2 scales for it. 2 scales is very essential. So always carry 2 scales in your medicine examination, guys. So this is the torch. Let the patient lie comfortably. You can turn the head to the opposite side, that is towards the left side, and tangentially you will throw a light like this, and I'm able to make out the JVP pulsations over here. So after throwing the light, you will be able to notice that there is something which is going up and down. How do you notice that? You will carefully see, and you will see the JVP which is happening. So the very essential is that there are 2 structures over there. There is the carotid artery and there is the internal jugular vein. How do you differentiate whether it's carotid pulsation or whether it is JVP pulsation? So carotid pulsations, my dear friends, are better felt. So carotid, when you actually press it, that's when you will be actually able to see the carotid, whereas JVP you can actually see. So in here I can see the JVP very beautifully. Here I can see the JVP. So how do we differentiate carotid pulsation from JVP? With every pulse, carotid has only 1 peak. So carotid will just have, with every pulse, you get the radial pulse of the patient, and you see every pulsation there is 1 beat. So that's definitely a carotid pulse. With JVP there will be up and down. So there will be 2 pulsations, not pulsations, 2 waveforms in one particular pulse, and that is because the patient is actually the venous return is going back to the heart. One thing which you can do if the JVP is not seen is that you can use the palm of your hand and you can just press it in the abdomen like this for 10 to 15 seconds, and there you go. You've got the JVP, which is now very being accelerated. For 15 seconds, at least for 10 seconds, if you can press it, you can see the JVP rise. Now this, my friends, is called as the abdominojugular reflex. When you press the abdomen, the jugular pressure rises because of inferior vena cava, and this is how you do it. You just press it for 10 seconds, you keep it like that, and there you go, a JVP pulsation I can see. How do you measure JVP, my friends? You keep 1 scale on the sternal angle like this. I've kept 1 scale on the sternal angle. This is the sternal angle of Louis. Next, from the upper part of the JVP that you're seeing, so this is the upper part of JVP that I'm seeing, you keep another scale like this, and then you see, okay, this is 3.5 centimeters. So this is the value of your JVP. That is 3.5 centimeters. Please note, anything below 4 centimeters is normal. 4 is also normal. But if it goes beyond 5, 6, that is when the pathology starts. And it might happen that in severe heart failure, the JVP might be over here. So it might be near the angle of the jaw. At that point, you will not be able to see the JVP and not be able to measure it. And that's when we call that I am not able to measure the JVP. So how do we get the heart right side pressure with the JVP? You add just 5 to it. So it was 3.5. So we'll add 5 to it. That was 8.5. So the pressure of the right atrium is 8.5 centimeters of water. So this is how we measure the JVP. Again, I'm showing you. I've kept it in the angle of Louis. From the upper edge, I've added this, and this part, 3.5 centimeter again, is my JVP. In the JVP, you can also be able to see the waveforms if you very carefully look at it. So waveforms of JVP will not be able to identify by eyes, but trained cardiologists and medicine consultants, they're able to identify the cardiac pathologies just by looking at the JVP. On the screen, you can see the waveforms of the JVP. So we've got AC, X, V, Y. These are the 5 waves of JVP. C is not that visible normally. So we've got A, then we've got the X descent, V, and then got Y descent. Very essential to know when X and Y becomes prominent. Y becomes prominent in constructive pericarditis. The X becomes prominent in cardiac tamponade. So remember this by the mnemonic PAY-TAX, P-A-Y. So pericarditis, Y accentuated, tax, T से X accentuated. That is tamponade से X accentuate हो जाएगा. So these are few questions about JVP. Absent A wave is seen at atrial fibrillation. In atrial fibrillation, also have the apex pulse deficit of more than 10. You'll have irregularly regular pulse. So yeah, that was all about general physical examination. Top to bottom, you have read everything. And